Hello, everyone. How are we? Hopefully, all of you is having a fantastic day wherever we are around the world. And welcome back to another Liverpool news episode for you guys this evening. And of course, we're going to discuss Jarell Quansah and Bayer Leverkusen. Of course, we know Bayer Leverkusen do have a deal agreed with Liverpool Football Club for Jarell Quansah for around, as you guys can see on the screen, of £35 million. But how are we, chat? Hopefully, everyone's good. Hopefully, everyone's well. If you're new around here, please do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and again, let me know your guys' thoughts on Jarell Quansah going to Bayer Leverkusen, because I think it's a good deal all round. I think it's a good deal for Liverpool. I think it's a great deal for Bayer Leverkusen as well. Again, getting a young English centre half who, again, the club seem to think that has a huge potential moving on in the future as well. So again, let me know how you lot are down in the comments. And yeah, let's dive straight in to the news, of course, as you guys would have seen by now anyway, from Fabrizio Romano, as usual, saying that Jarell Quansah to Bayer Leverkusen. Here we go. Deal agreed for £30 million, initial fee plus £5 million in add-ons. Exclusive detail: Liverpool will have a buyback clause for Quansah to keep future control of the player contract until June 2030, which I think is the big one. I really do. I think that key detail of Liverpool do have the opportunity to buy him back, which I think shows really where the club are at. Again, even though we know he hasn't been favourable with Arne Slot, and Arne Slot hasn't really not so much taken a liking to Jarell Quansah, but thinks Liverpool can get better in that position. And I think the club automatically think, well, in the next 2 to 3 years, if Jarell Quansah has a progression period of getting even better for Leverkusen, and doing a few other things in terms of progressing in his development, then why can't Liverpool bring him back? Why can't Liverpool get one of the best English centre halves then, if he does become that? Because I think that's definitely a question mark for the long term future of Jarell Quansah. And also as well, I think for Liverpool it makes sense, because that's the type of deals we are currently doing under the new regime, under obviously Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes. Either it's a buy-on clause, sell-on clause, sorry, or it's a buyback. Either way, quite kind of similar with the whole Fabio Carvalho one. I think we had both in that deal as well. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking about that anyway. But still, to have that type of detail in there, I think is great, really, because again, we seen in the first, in his first season, didn't we, that Jarell Quansah had loads of potential, and that was the real kind of disappointing thing from last season, because I think all of us kind of said it, didn't we, throughout the preseason and throughout other bits and pieces, that Liverpool, we would like to see him progress a lot more. We'd like to see Jarell Quansah now kick on from his first season at Liverpool, and then that first 45 minutes against Ipswich, and that was the true downfall of the season, where Ibu really stuck to that position alongside Virgil van Dijk, and then every single time Jarell Quansah featured for Liverpool or had any involvement then for Liverpool, we'd end up losing the game, or something would happen during the game where he'd make a mistake or something like that. And again, obviously, it'll knock your confidence down 100%. And I think, in my opinion, I think he does need to go somewhere that he'll have regular, first team football. He will now be the main centre half for Leverkusen now, with them obviously spending a record fee on Jarell Quansah. So for me, I think overall it's a great deal. It's a great deal for Liverpool, because again, getting £35 million for of course it's £30 million with £5 million in add-ons, but still, as an overall package of 35 million, I think it's a great deal, and also a buyback clause in that as well, or pretty much first refusal for him anyway. But big up Ozan as well. Hope you're doing well. Saying big up Conrad. So we're looking at receiving £76 million for both Quansah and Elliott. Bargain, Con as well. Well, I think Elliott, I think you're probably looking around the same ballpark in here, but for 40 £50 million probably. But again, with Harvey, it's it's a bit difficult at the moment, isn't it? Because I think with Harvey Elliott, look, what team is the best for him to go to? And I know Brighton have been linked tonight once again, which I think that would be a really good move for him. But I said it a couple of days ago, I also think Villa would be also a really good opportunity for him, because I think you look at how they play and the style of play. I think that would suit down Harvey Elliott down to a T. But yeah, I think Villa or Brighton would really be a good move for him, in my opinion. Anyway, I know other people have different opinions. Anyway, but getting on to Lewis Steele's report anyway from obviously the Jarell Quansah stuff, saying, as you guys can see, but there, Jarell Quansah on the verge of a £30 million move. Plus obviously 5 million in add-ons to buy a Leverkusen, with a buyback clause proposed to be inserted in the deal as per Fabrizio Romano. It opens the door for Liverpool to sign a centre-back. Mark Ahey is the one they like and could represent a good market opportunity given his current contract situation. Their main goal is to sign a young defender who could eventually replace Virgil van Dijk. He has vouched for Jarell Quansah, mainly at left back though, so could be different thinking at Ajax, who is definitely still on the radar. While RB Leipzig have been scouted for some months, which Race thought obviously through to Luke Yeaber could also be an option for Liverpool. And look, I think, again, we'll get into obviously the main conversation around who does replace Jarell Quansah as well, because I think that's obviously the conversation now around Jarell Quansah. Of course, him going to Bayer Leverkusen for 35 million pounds. Who does come in to replace him? And of course, the number one name is Mark Ahey. Mark Ahey has been spoken about, of course, for the last couple of days. There's been suggestion that Liverpool want him for around £30 million. There's been other reports suggesting that Crystal Palace want around £50 million for him, or in that region of £40 to £50 million. Look, in my honest opinion, I think Mark Ahey at 35 to 40 million, I think it's a decent deal. I think if you're looking above £40 million for a year left on his contract, again, I don't think it's a great deal. It's an okay deal to do, because again, you're getting England's number one centre half. You're getting someone who has plenty of Premier League experience. It's just captain Crystal Palace to an FA Cup win. What their first major trophy in their history. But for me personally, I think at 30 to 35 million, it's an absolute steal. 40 million, I think, is probably the right price. But then if you're looking at 45, 50 million pounds, I think that is, I think that's where the point it becomes overpriced. In my personal opinion, I don't know about you guys in the comments, but I do think Mark Ahey is a very, very good centre half. Like I said, he's well experienced for his age, 24 years of age as well. Was basically England's best defender, and probably their best player in the last European competition, in the Euros. What was it, last summer or summer before? And for me, I think he'd be an absolute boss signing if Liverpool could do it. But I think it's for the right price. If you have to, it's one certain thing, in my opinion, where you have to get him for the correct price, because if you don't, I think, look, we will look at alternatives. Liverpool won't be held ransom. Look at Liverpool, we know, have plan A, plan B, plan C. But as of right now, I would say Mark Ahey to Liverpool is a very strong possibility, because, again, you look at the names, for example, then Jarell Quansah offers you something a bit different, where, again, can play as a left back, back up for Milos Kerkez if we wanted him to be. You've then got, being the centre half behind Virgil van Dijk. But that's the plan, I think, for Liverpool. Like as Lewis Steele mentioned, Liverpool want to have the air then for Virgil van Dijk, or to have someone who is capable enough. For example, if Virgil van Dijk needs a game to rest or somewhere around there, we're not then lacking because Virgil van Dijk is missing. And that for me is where over the previous years we've kind of lacked someone who done that. We've seen at the back end of the season where we had Jarell Quansah and Ibu Konate playing alongside each other, and it was a bit of a mess, wasn't it, at times? And I think for me, Liverpool need that commander who, that when Virgil's not there, can easily, slot in. Is that Mark Gahey? I think he could be a fantastic option for that. With him being, of course, the Crystal Palace captain, and obviously, he's been so good for both club and country over the last couple of seasons. I do think it's a deal that I think would make a lot of sense, especially Mark Gahey as well. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments, because I think, like I said, 30, 35, 40 million, I think it's okay. If you're going above that, I think it would be a deal that's not great then, because you are, for a player that does have 1 year left on his contract, you are in theory overpaying then, in my opinion at least anyway. Because again, you also do have the current conversation going around with Ibu Konate's contract as well, because if you need to sort him out as well, again, that could be a very, very long day, of course, for Liverpool to sort out anyway. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down below as well. But what else do we have? Actually, to be fair, I think I missed that comment. Both lads are only 22 as well. Can't hope we manage to include a buyback clause for Harvey as well. I don't think we'll do a buyback. I think we'll do a sell-on clause for him, because realistically, you've got Florian Wirtz and Dom Szoboszlai for that role. Now, look, if Harvey Elliott becomes, what we think he'll become, in terms of potential, then Liverpool might do that. But for me, you've got Florian Wirtz, you've got Dom Szoboszlai. You don't really need to add that then in his contract, in my opinion, anyway. Excuse me. But again, that's just my opinion. 40 mil plus incentives 40 million total agree, including add-ons. Look, I think Mark Gahey, I think he'll be around, I think it'd be around 30, 35 million. But I think the one thing to also talk about when it comes to Mark Gahey is game time. Now, there's conversations going on that he wants a certain reassurance of game time. And look, at Liverpool, he'll get that. Nobody, unless you are Alisson Becker, Virgil van Dijk, or, Mo Salah or Florian Wirtz now, you're not, you are guaranteed if you're them. But the rest of them, you're not. I think even the new signings coming in, apart from maybe Wirtz, Frimpong, again, will battle it out with Conor Bradley. Kyrgyz will start for Liverpool, but I think obviously if Robbo stays, there could be competition there as well. There's definitely many things that could happen with certain things that will happen, throughout the season. But I think for Quansah, for Jarell Quansah, he wanted first team football as well. This is why I think, the Leipzig move for him, the Leverkusen move, is perfect sense, because again, they've just lost out to Jonathan Tah, and he will now become their number one centre half. Similar with Mark Gahey, where he wants reassurance that he will play. And look, if I'm being totally honest, if Mark Gahey wants to come to Liverpool to win the Premier League and win the Champions League, his best bet is Liverpool, because Liverpool are going to win everything next season, in my opinion. But in my also opinion, I think if you are looking to be a number one starter, kind of like what you are at Crystal Palace, I think teams like Newcastle and Spurs, you are more likely to get it there, because Spurs could be losing Christian Romero this summer. You know how injury prone Mickey van der Ven has been for Spurs. So that's one position there. I think Newcastle, one of the areas, in my opinion, which they do need to improve is centre halves, because obviously I think Cher is becoming. I think is he going into his late 30s now, or just about to go into his late 30s. You've then got obviously Sven Botman, who, let's be honest, is injury prone as well. So you're going to be getting I think plenty of minutes there. For Liverpool, let's be honest, Mark Gahey will be rotating with Ibu Konate. But also, it's like I just mentioned in terms of Virgil van Dijk needing a rest now and again. You could also play him on the left, which is also great to have that versatility. But it depends what he wants. If he wants to be that player that, again, given the opportunity, you're going to play X amount of games. But I think personally, in my opinion, excuse me, I do think if he was to join, I think Arne Slot would rotate a lot more, considering what he did last season, where he wouldn't play, he would play Ibu Konate straight after the Champions League game, or if you guys know what I mean, like he would risk Ibu Konate three games in a week. And now I think if he has somebody like a Mark Gahey, I don't think he does that. I think he would keep the best defender for one game, for Champions League game, and then if we're at home at Anfield, he would play the other, for example, and that's what I think personally that's what he wants, in my honest opinion, anyway. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts on Jarell Quansah and of course Mark Gahey as well, because we're very intrigued to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. But Daryl says yes, Connor, I hope you're doing well. The buyback clause is insane business as well. Yeah, absolutely. This is brilliant business from Edwards and Hughes. Heard Gahey is seeing out his contract at Palace. That was the rumor earlier on, but then there was another report suggesting that he wants to move now. So again, until we have confirmation from his team, really, then we can't really discuss anything on that at the moment. But Edwards and Hughes, the dream team. This summer, they've been the best team in Europe. Them two alone in terms of deals and getting them done. Darryl says, "I'll make a volley as well. We're doing well. Can't wait to give Brighton 30 million and get Belieber with Elliott added." Again, I don't think they're going to lose Belieber this summer. I'm not going to lie. I think he'll stay one more year and then they'll demand 100 million plus for him next summer. I really do think that. I think because again, if you look at the teams in Europe, or at least the Premier League teams, don't really need him. Again, even for us, he would be a luxury item because, again, you've got Gravenberch there, you've got Endo there. Unless Endo leaves, at the minute, you can't go and buy a number 6. Do I think Liverpool need to buy a number 6 this summer? Yeah, I do. Because quite clearly, Arne Slot doesn't rate Wataru Endo to, what's the right word? To rely on in certain situations where, if we want a bit more of a ball playing DM, Arne Slot doesn't trust Wataru Endo for that. He much more trusts him as a guy that will win the ball back and secure you a win than if you're 1-0 or 2-1 up, for example. But yeah, I think that's definitely a position that Liverpool need to look at. Whether or not we're going to do that now this summer is another question. But I think over the next 12 months, that's definitely a position that Liverpool will have to look at, in my opinion, anyway. But I like how the club admin has been posting non-stop Vert pics all on social media for the past 2 days. Well, to be fair, do you blame them, Ozan? Like, we've just signed one of the best talent in the world. Again, if Liverpool did it consistently, I wouldn't blame them. Let's be honest. But no, I get what you mean. Hats off to Edwards and Hughes. Fantastic business, really, is this summer. Yeah, absolutely. I prefer Robbo to sit. I think he needs to stay. And Costas to go. I would agree 100%. What's the script with Jota and Darwin? Darwin's probably going to go Napoli, and I think Jota will stay for next season and then leave the club potentially moving forward as well. But I definitely think there is opportunity where, look, I think there is the possibility where you look at it and go, with Diogo Jota, could you do a deal there somewhere with a certain club? I'm not so sure. But look, I do think it's with Diogo Jota, now it's become apparent you can't sell him because no team wants him because of his injury problems. So he will now most likely become the impact sub for Liverpool once we do sign the number 9 that we want, or apparently want. So we'll have to wait and see for that, at least anyway. But if Canate extends, I think Nathan Collins is a perfect as a backup. I've seen Nathan Collins getting linked past couple of days, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to sit here and say I watch Brentford every single week. But looking at a few things, again, he matches perfectly up with Mark Gahey for that type of player. So yeah, I think it's an option. But yeah, I'm not necessarily sure, because again, I've seen a few reports but nothing solid on him. And like I said, again, I've not watched him week in, week out, but I've seen Nathan Collins' name come up a few times over the last week. The big up Simon as well, if we do well, saying, dude, we should have gone for Diamonde and Nkapi. Gay comes in, Lukeba and Sesko, double deal with Edison to cover for the number 6, even though can't see it happen. Excuse me, chat. I've got bloody hiccups again. The Diamonde shout, look, if you play Football Manager, Diamonde is the GOAT on Football Manager. Lukeba is also one that I think Liverpool should be looking at, as Lewis Steele's already mentioned, in terms of alternatives for Mark Gahey. I think, he's definitely up there, but supposedly Leipzig don't want to go below his release clause, which I think is around £67 million. So it's definitely an interesting one where I think if you could get it down, then great. But I think the other thing that makes Mark Gahey attractive as well is the fact he is homegrown. Is the fact that, again, you're going to be losing a homegrown player in Jarell Quansah, but then you're going to replace him then in arguably England's best centre half at the moment as well. It's a pretty good deal in that sense. I think that's why Liverpool may push for Mark Gahey, because again, the one thing I would also say is to, certainly with Jarell Quansah and the whole news around him, I would turn around and say that Liverpool don't sell players unless they have a guaranteed way of replacing them. Like, Liverpool have an idea of the player that they want, and it wouldn't be surprising if tomorrow we heard news of, Liverpool have made contact with Palace over Mark Gahey or whoever Liverpool want. Because the one thing I'd also say is I do think Liverpool will make a surprise signing this summer. We're definitely going to sign a name that we've not been linked to, or we've not been not spoken about really, because we kind of did that with Diogo Jota. Now, if you guys remember back, way back to 2020 when was it Ismail Assar kept on being brought up by every single Liverpool journalist, and a lot of people were talking about him, but he's the guy that Liverpool are going to go for, is that versatile forward that we want, and and of course he's great mates with Sadio Mane and this, that, and the other. And then the next day we got basically, what was it, announced straight away that Liverpool had agreed a deal with Wolves for Diogo Jota. So look, I would definitely say there is going to be a surprise transfer that we may look at that nobody is talking about at the minute. Again, not saying who it is, because I don't know at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if one day we woke up and gone, bang, like Liverpool are doing a deal for this player, and you go, oh, okay, it makes sense, like who we're going to go for. So yeah, I think it's an interesting one anyway. But Arne Slot wants players he knows, right? Elliot, Chiesa, Nunes, Jota, and Quansah are gone. I would remove Jota from that list, in my opinion, but I would agree with the rest. I think Chiesa, I think Fabrizio Romano mentioned it, didn't he? That's pretty much confirmed. He's going to be going. Nunes as well. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if both Nunes and Chiesa went to Napoli, because there's been rumblings there for a while that there's going to be a deal done in that direction. So yeah, I think it's very plausible that we could see both of them going to Napoli for sure. But hang on a minute, chat. Let me quickly turn that off. There we go. Simon says, issue we have is the dead wood and the low price we're going to get for Nunes. Lucky to get 50 million. Gomez for 25. Costas for 15-20. Jota for 40, Ben Doak for 20, Canate. Canate are lucky to get 40 million with 1 year left. I'm not gonna lie, if you know, if Mark Gahey is going for that, say what 20, if Mark Gahey's going for £50 million, Ibu Konate's going for that. Or if Mark Gahey's being quoted that price, Ibu's going for that same price, because look, Ibu Konate is a better centre half than Mark Gahey, but the feeling I get with it personally is that I think Ibu will stay at Liverpool for the season. I think Liverpool have some sort of hope that it will, that Liverpool will definitely do a type of deal where, similar with Van Dijk and Salah, that they have strong inklings that he will sign, unlike Trent Alexander-Arnold, who we know wanted to leave Liverpool for the last 2 seasons, and led the club on the road that we know of basically putting the knife in the back. But I think with that, I definitely think Liverpool will definitely get money back this summer. There's no question around that. Look, getting 40 million for Jarell Quansah is a great deal. I say 40 million, 35 million, sorry, as well. But yeah, I think it's definitely somewhere where I think looking at it, Liverpool can definitely get money for. Absolutely. Hello, Luke, as well, saying hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Where's the balls they're going to play? I say back up to Florian Wirtz. He'll definitely play as a 10, and he'll play as an 8 as well. He'll drop a bit further back. I wouldn't be too surprised if we played Curtis Jones in the 6, or McAllister in the 6, in certain games. But yeah, I think Dom Szoboszlai will be playing as an 8, in my opinion, I think, at times throughout the season. Because again, even though people say, oh, look, Liverpool, Szoboszlai is not going to play now because, we've just signed Florian Wirtz. There's so many tactical options Liverpool have now in their disposal, with having the players like Florian Wirtz, players like Dom Szoboszlai, Alexis McAllister. Liverpool have gone from a few years ago having an aging midfield that needed replacing to now having one of the best in Europe, or if not the best. I think the only teams, in my opinion, you think you can rival that with is PSG at the minute, because you look at that midfield of theirs, or their midfield, the midfield that starts, and I should say, when you talk about Vitinha, you talk about Fabian Ruiz, and you talk about João Neves. That's a very exciting midfield 3, and Liverpool's midfield 3 now with Florian Wirtz added to that as well. Look, I think it's definitely us and PSG for that battle, really. But yeah, I think 100% there's definitely a conversation of Jesus Christ, Luke, go away. Just seen the chat. Go away. To be fair, Morton was outstanding for England in the under-21s last night. Surely we get 50 million for him. I think there's definitely something there where Tyler Morton can be a really good player for a team. He was really good for Hull. His loan spell, data-wise, looked very decent for under-21 level. And I'm surprised there isn't more teams, being linked more to Tyler Morton, because I think you look at like a Leeds, for example, who they might not need him, but I think in terms of someone who again is English, homegrown, could do a job in the Premier League. Obviously Xabi Alonso wanted him at Leverkusen 12 months ago, and Liverpool turned it down. So there's definitely a conversation around it for sure. But it's Mikel Arteta. Jesus Christ. This is basically equivalent to a loan with an buy option as well, says Zane. I'll pick up Zane as well if you do well. Basically, yeah. But excuse me. Collins is not good enough, says Simon. There we go. Excuse me. Morton isn't good. Is going to get ahead of the current players. No, he's not. That's already established. Where look, Wataru Endo is starting ahead of. Wataru Endo is definitely starting ahead of Tyler Morton. So yeah, it is time to go 100%. What's going on with Ben Doak? Don't know yet. I think certain players we are going to wait to see what happens. We will wait to see what happens in preseason. Like the problem is with Ben Doak, he has been injured for, if you count the last 2 seasons, he's been injured for over half of it. And that's a problem. If you're trying to sell a player for £30 million, you do have to have substance there. And look, in the Championship last season, up to a certain point, Ben Doak was the best right winger in the Championship last season. He was a bit underperforming in terms of goals, but was getting good opportunities. Assist wise, he was up there for sure at one point, and then got injured pretty seriously. And that's been a problem with Ben Doak. It's just keeping fit and maintaining that fitness. So I think that's the first thing, is trying to keep him healthy. And then, who knows? But Palace like him, Brentford did like him, but obviously Thomas Frank's now left. So yeah, there'll be bidders in for him for sure, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Isak is coming as well. Look, if he does come, if Isak does sign for Liverpool this summer, we will do a 24-hour stream. So Ricky, clip that if you're watching, or Luke, clip that. If Isak does join, I will do a 24-hour stream. We will do some sort of charity stream because again, I just don't think Isak's coming this summer, in my opinion, anyway. But I sense Darwin Osman swap. Yeah, a lot of people spoke about that. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Victor Osman. In my opinion, anyway, I'm not too fussed on him. In my opinion, could just be watching other players come from the Serie A, and it's like, no. But although LFC have spent well to credit FSG, I'm concerned the fire sale which will happen worries me. That the squad, although impressive in quality, I'm concerned the depth will still be an issue. I don't think so. Like, in my opinion, I think Liverpool, you look, every position at the moment, apart from centre half, Liverpool are pretty strong in. The midfield, you look at right back, you've got Frimpong, Connor Bradley. Centre halves, we do need 1 or 2. Left back, you've got, obviously Kirkes, Robbo, or Tsimikas. Midfielders, you're solid in that position. But then, I think probably up top as well, you do need maybe adding another, adding a striker and also adding a versatile forward that can play across the front line, because I think having a player like Federico Chiesa in your squad is very good, because again, he can play on the left, can play as a striker, can play on the right as well. And Liverpool need that, need that type of player in your squad, because we've seen in the past, like look at Taki Minamino, for example, who didn't really nail down a position, but in the cup games would play everywhere. And you kind of need that type of players in your squad to help out, in the cup games and in tough league games as well. But Daryl says no way we sign Isak. They put 200 million on his head as well. I seen that. Again, I personally don't think Isak will leave Newcastle. I think of course, it would have to take an outrageous bid. Could Liverpool do it? Yeah, I absolutely do think Liverpool could do it. But yeah, whether or not that's this summer or another summer is a completely different question, in my opinion. We talking euros or Great British pounds? Don't think we sell Darwin for £40 million. I think we sell him for about that. I'm not gonna lie. I think 40 to 50 million pounds. I think you're looking around that price point, if I'm being honest, Ozan, because quite clearly teams are not going to come in for him, or European teams at least anyway, which is his preference. So yeah, I think that's for me at least, I think is pretty reasonable for somebody like a Darwin Núñez. Big mistake was not letting Darwin go in January when the Saudis team come in. Yeah, that is true. I'm not even gonna lie about that. Tafsa, it's 100%. I would agree with that. Ozyman, sorry, I don't want another. I'm not going to say his name, as he is a journeyman wanting too much money. Ekatike, too costly. Gyökeres not proved in the Premier League, but I see him going to Manchester United as well. Yeah, well, I've seen people today come up with Colin Mawani from PSG. I'd be intrigued to see if that would come through anyway. But yeah, I'm not too sure that would happen, in my honest opinion. Agree with the Canate contract will most likely run, but Madrid have already shown their hand. If they let it run, he is ending up at PSG or Real next summer. Liverpool can't afford to lose 40 million this summer. I think that the honest plan, I think, for Ibu will be to keep hold of him. I think we will keep hold of him in the summer. Like I do. I think Liverpool will try now, of course, from now until the end of Liverpool's thought of process of where, like with Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, where again we heard weeks and weeks and months that the contract wasn't getting sorted. But that's the thing where next season I don't want that being a conversation like it was last season with Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah and Trent, where we was talking because Liverpool wrapped the league up. That's all we was discussing on it. Is when are they signing? When's the contracts happening? When's this happening? When's that happening? And it became a very toxic environment very quickly when everybody knew Trent was going to be leaving, because I think obviously people felt hurt by the Trent situation. I think I do think though, if Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk had decided to leave the football club, if they had gone, okay, we're going to leave, I think the reaction to them two leaving compared to Trent would still be completely different, because it's the different manner of it. We knew from the start of the season that both Van Dijk and Canate wanted to stay. We knew this. As I say Canate, I mean Mo Salah. Sorry, Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk. They wanted to stay. We knew Trent wanted to leave at one point. Like, we knew in November Trent was going to Madrid. I think that the hope of him staying because he's a Scouser and he's from West Derby and he's meant to be from one of the people and this, that, and the other, a load of nonsense, and he played into that as well. And look, he thought that would protect him. And look, we're not even into his Real Madrid career yet. Once that Madrid fan base properly get into Trent, again, he will absolutely regret it. His brand won't, of course, because look, he'll grow his portfolio, he'll grow his brandy out even more because he's a Real Madrid player. But once that Madrid fan base turn on him, like how Liverpool fans could have turned on Trent many of the time for certain games he's played, I think unlike how it was here, like we adored Trent, and still believed in Trent when he would have bad game after bad game. Madrid won't do that. They will move him on. And that's the funny thing around it as well. But hello, Ben, as well. But that Jesus Christ, that profile picture. Keep an eye on. Is it Kristen? Again, I'm not going to pronounce that name. But big up Gina as well. Hope you're doing well. All he says made up for Quansah, to be honest. Yeah, same really. I think, look, the whole Jarell Quansah thing is, it's a shame really, because he hasn't kicked on, or at the moment hasn't kicked on. But I do think, because we'll keep a close eye on him, Liverpool will do, because we have that buyback clause. But I look at it and go, we've seen, not last season, just gone the season before that, we've seen his breakthrough year of a top quality centre half who was given opportunity to shine, and he did. Certainly away from home. He had big games like Palace away, Wolves away. we even played him at Old Trafford away, and of course he did make a mistake at Old Trafford. But apart from that, he had a decent game, I think, at the time. And you kind of look at that and go, why, what's kind of changed? And I think the overall perspective of what has changed is that we've kind of gone from a team like Arne Slot has spoke about plenty of times where, for example, Ibu Konate, where he has said that he wants him to be playing a lot better on the ball. And I think that's kind of something as well where, Arne Slot spoke about from the start of the season. He wants his defenders to win more duels, to again progress the ball better and do certain things. I think Quansah just couldn't do that, or in Arne Slot's mind, couldn't do it to a certain level. And I think, of course, if he has plenty of game time out in Germany, I think Liverpool could definitely bring him back, 100%. But of course, that's a question for another time as well. But so it says, Gina, I agree. Could see him coming in if Gomez does. Let me have a look who this person is, because I don't know who the player is that you guys are on about. Hang on a minute, let me double check. Yeah, it was on 24-hour stream. If Alexander Isak does join, and no pre-agreed contract shite either. It has to be if he joins this summer. So yeah, that's the deal. If Alexander Isak joins Liverpool, then look, this summer, sorry, then we'll do a 24-hour stream. No. Oh, so he's a Spanish international. Where does he play? Right back? No, centre half. I think who's the other centre half that Liverpool been linked with? Is it the Sevilla centre half, the French one? I forgot his name, but we've been linked with him as well. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens there. But and a shaved head on it. No, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. Hope we go for Gahey, good player certainly. Yeah, absolutely, Martin. So it would be a boss signing, Mark Gahey. I really do think it would be. Because again, I think the thing that annoyed me though this week has been people a bit like, "Oh, we could do better than Mark Gahey," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" For a third choice centre half who's going to be battling out with Ibu Konate and could also like could slot in for Virgil van Dijk as well. You can't get much better on the market really for the price tag that we think we can get him for. As well, I think you could get a lot. You could get a lot worse for that type of money. And look, I think he's 100% worth it. And I've seen a couple of Liverpool supporters be like, "Oh, we could do better. Go out and get better in the market." It's like, tell me who then. Tell us who you guys think Liverpool can go and get, because for me, I don't think you can. Where do you think Wirtz will play? I'm thinking false 9, perhaps. In the 10. That's where he'll play, Martin, in my opinion. Could he play in the false 9? Possibly, in certain games. But yeah, I definitely think, I definitely do think number 10 position will be the way for him anyway. But if money wasn't an issue, I'd love to see Desiree Doué come in. Imagine if Liverpool had got Kvaratskhelia, who ended up at PSG twice. They had the opportunity to buy him, and then said he wasn't value for money. Him and Wirtz, yeah, would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? If that would happen. Big up Dave as well. Hope he's doing well. Saying, let's hope he doesn't get injured for the under 21s. True. Well, at the minute, it's getting done, isn't it? Because obviously we know deals agreed between both clubs, but the Leverkusen was his CEO, or that basically their head of recruitment was at the game last night when they played Spain, because there was loads of videos of him going around. It's like, oh yeah, the Quansah deal's done. And then obviously we got the news today. So there must have been obviously big progression last night anyway. But is it Mosquera, again, apologies if I butchered his name, plays for Valencia, very good player. Look at him up. I'll look at him after this stream. I've had to look at him just now, and again, looks all right, to be fair. But yeah, he plays for Valencia as well, which, to be fair, we do have a good relationship with Valencia because of Giorgio Mamadashvili as well. So, look, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one anyway. But I think the whole Mark Gahey stuff, in my opinion anyway, I would make a lot of sense. I really, really do believe that. But if it is the £50 million that is getting spoke about, then yeah, no, I definitely don't think Liverpool should be going anywhere near that. Not at that price point anyway, but I do think 30, 35, 40 million, I think that would be a great move. I think, look, 35 million plus 5 million in add-ons for Mark Gahey would be really, really good. I really do. But we'll have to wait and see and see what does happen there. Anyway, but look, we'll have to, of course, like I said, wait and see what happens with Mark Gahey. And of course, we already know what's happening with Jarell Quansah, but still, it'd be nice to know what will happen. I wouldn't be too surprised though if we did hear something in the next couple of days on Mark Gahey, because like I said earlier on in the stream, it's very unlike Liverpool to sell a player unless they have a guarantee or some sort of plan going for a centre-half as well, because that would be, it's not unlike Liverpool to do it, but, imagine if we went out and got Diamonde, for example. That would be the not the dream anyway, but you know what I mean. If we take them, I'll take Diamonde, and obviously Gahey stays an extra year at Palace, which, could, in terms of Mark Gahey, that could definitely happen. Could definitely see him staying one more year, but we'll have to wait and see what happens anyway. But look, I am going to leave it there for tonight, guys. Big thank you for everyone for tuning in to tonight's show anyway. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. I'm just double checking to see if there is any more news on Mark Gahey or Jarell Quansah, because I don't think there is at the present moment in time. Let me double check. No, there's not. So again, any other news will be live for it anyway. Like we said, hopefully we'll hear some news over the next couple of days about Mark Gahey or any other signings, of course, because not only that, we've got probably on Tuesday Milos Kerkez starting his Liverpool medical as well. So look, we will have that coming up on the channel as well very, very soon. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed tonight's video. Hopefully you guys have liked and subscribed. Nice with that. Jesus Christ, Ollie. Jesus Christ. We're not having Welsh lessons in this chat. Absolutely not. I'm not having that tonight anyway. But look, like I said, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your nights anyway. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode on the channel. Anyway, if you are new around here, please do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. And yeah, I've been calling out from the Cock Council. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Ta-ra.